unacceptable. And we are planning to bring in the next time. The goal is 100 people. We suggest to the DOJ, to the governor, and to the commissioner of prisons that this prison be closed down. It's only been open since 2016.
Yeah.
And it's been consistent problem. And I'm asking for what's his name, Frank Strada's. We're asking for his job because I guess he thought that we were just blowing smoke when we met with him. We demanded a walk, and after he promised us that, his office started stonewalling, and we continued for months. We continued to call the DOJ. We were trying to get into court civic. We had a lunch meeting with a prominent investigator to try to see could we get some news coverage on this before it got to this point. Now we realize that the state of Tennessee fined this prison and court civic, fined them last year and renewed the contract, so they got the money right back. Now the GOJ is talking about fining $15 million. These people are not dollar bills. This is their lives here. Who, because of a corrupt justice system, they may be innocent or guilty. Right over here, being treated inhumane. This is beyond violating their civil rights. This is a modern day slavery, in a lynching, in a prison. And we demand that this prison be closed down. You can't fix something that's been broke ever since birth.
And I want to, before we keep going, I want to make sure you get his mic as well.
Are you guys ready to get started? Or?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right.
I'm glad you're doing this.
Is there someone else?
You guys don't mind getting closer to the mics?
Pastor,
Come this way.
come close to the mic, Pastor. I'll stand right here. Will it be right good for y'all ladies? Will it be good right here?
Yeah.
Okay.
Give him one of those songs.
I'll take this.
Bud.
How you doing?
All right, man.
Hey, you know. Like I told you, you need me down there. Just pull it together and we come and on our way.
Yeah, it's gotta be consistent. That's all.
Y'all can just introduce yourselves and then what you all wanted to speak about today.
Well, if I probably just speak, I'll say where I am, but then it'll be my spokesman. Lady representative.
My name is Angel Stansberry. I'm a law student and a community activist. I'm here accompanying Reverend Lewis because when we worked at the NAACP, we were inundated with complaints about this prison. Instances that sounded like cruel and unusual punishment, which is an 8th Amendment violation. And we met with Frank Strada on May 4th. He promised us a walkthrough. I kept calling until July 2nd. They kept stonewalling and didn't give us the walkthrough. And now we've come to this. Money changing hands at the top does not fix the conditions that these human beings have to live under. Every human being in there is attached to a family. Every family is attached to a community. They're destroying our communities, and we have to speak up and demand that this prison be shut down.
My name is Pastor Vanita Lewis, 40-year civil rights activist, and I will reiterate and support Ms. Stansberry in that we met one-on-one for well over an hour plus with Frank Strada, who is the Commissioner of Prisons, and he assured us that the conditions back here were aggressively improving and promised that we would get a walkthrough of the prison, then that stonewalled. We continue to meet with an investigative reporter to seek a media frenzy on the conditions. That's been about 8 or 9 months ago, almost a year ago. And then we had a group that were trying to get into the doors of Core Civic because they refused to return phone calls. We got to see pictures of open wounds with poor medical conditions. We had family members who were just ship bodies who had been killed in this prison here. We had individuals claiming family members being raped here, constant shutdown of the prison 24, 48 hours, sometimes weeks on end, no calls out, no calls in, poor staffing, poor food conditions. We are standing in solidarity, and we will be back, and the numbers will increase to ask that this prison be closed down. And another step, we're asking the governor to look at Frank Strata, who is the commissioner of prisons, and we're asking him to be removed from his position.
And you were mentioning earlier, just like everyone in some manner has been touched by this facility, whether you have a friend or a loved one or know somebody in that capacity.
Everybody in this row have been affected by incarceration. It's a part of a lifestyle for African American people. You either know somebody, you have somebody in your family, and we know what it's like, and it's poor conditions in other prisons. But this prison here has only been open, what, for a little over 7 years.
It's a new facility.
And it's been consistent problems and gross violation of individuals who have parents. They are somebody's husband, somebody's brother, and being just mistreated. So we will be reaching out to family members who was once afraid, and some of them still afraid, to speak out, to bring them together for the next time we come down here. The numbers, we're planning on bringing 100 people. This facility needs to be shut down.
What do you just think about the DOJ investigation? I mean, you mentioned being part of NAACP, that you've gotten, calls and emails a lot. So what do you think about the timing of the DOJ investigation, and what are you hoping that comes out of this investigation?
I do know that our strategic work in 2023 here prompted the DOJ, because we encourage people to call. We made calls to the DOJ ourselves. And at one point, I felt, helpless to help the people. You call the warden, they won't return calls. The commissioner of prisons make a promise, then his secretary start ignoring the calls, telling us they're gonna have him to call us back. We couldn't get inside of Core Civic. So I do believe the complaints that we encouraged family members to call the DOJ, along with maybe other organizations, which have prompted them to step forward. But the biggest thing that's been in the media is that they're fining Core Civic. That's not good enough, because the state fined them and still gave them a contract, and the problems increased. So in order to rectify something that is consistently being broke, is to find something to replace it with. And this facility behind us here, we are demanding and requesting for the governor, the commissioner, Mr. Frank Strata, to consider closing this facility down, along with, I think, Frank Strata, the commissioner of prisons, he needs to be removed, because that kept coming back in my mind, that he said that the problems here were aggressively improving. And here we find ourselves today standing here before you all making a strong request, because I feel like that it's just going to become a money game. They're being fined, and they've been fined before, never fixed the problem. So let's just shut it down.
And that fine is just a drop in the bucket for the hundreds of millions of dollars that they get from having my brothers in places like this. And it's not just black folk. My husband is a felon. He had a felony before we even got married. And I didn't ban the box. But when we first started calling the DOJ, they said that they had no jurisdiction because it's a private prison. So for them to be involved now means that they must have really upped the ante in terms of the public response. And what I had called OSHA because I was concerned about the talk about infectious diseases running rampant in there, with workers who go home to their families, who have kids in public school, and it's like a petri dish in there. So we have to consider that what goes on in there affects everybody. A threat to democracy somewhere is a threat to democracy everywhere. A threat to their in violation of human rights, we're next. My brother could be in there. My cousin, my uncle, it can be any of us. And we just can't stay silent while money changes hands at the top and nothing changes in the reality of the situation for these people living under these inhumane conditions.
Absolutely.
And just one of my final thoughts, what should a prison facility be like? What should it be like inside these? As someone who has loved ones in there, what would you like to see a facility look like when you send your loved one off to be incarcerated?
The first thing is that prison systems, the cry for correction in prison systems is becoming a national talk. They feel as if you have no rights once you may have violated the law, you may have gotten a bad judgment decision. But at the end of the day, you still have your civil rights. And that, as long as that's being violated, that is not what a prison should look like. Mm-hmm. And as long as we're hearing of the gross negligence, I mean, it's not just one problem. It's not like they're saying a few people are being killed in there. It's not like they're saying a few people being raped in there. But the list goes on and on. Poor food conditions, lockdowns, shortage of staffing. It's too many problems to fix in 7 years. They've not had a good run at it. So their track record is that they need to be shut down. And we will fight for that. And we will fight for the removal of Frank Strata as the commissioner of prisons, because how does this happen when we sat before him? And you can see that we talk with him with an assertiveness and an interest in improving here, and that's been over a year ago, and the problems have gotten aggressively worse. So we know what civil rights look like. And when you have to have the DOJ to step in, it's got to be pretty bad. And so as citizens, as a community, a civil rights activist of 40 years, this is where I stand best. And we will stand and we will come back, and the numbers will increase till someone understand that we want this place closed down, and we want them to seriously look at Frank Strata, the commissioner of prisons, who's supposed to have the serious oversight, and obviously he just lied to us. And I don't like that, because it's just gotten worse.
They have so many prisons, but he is vicariously liable because he oversees all of them. He's the chief overseer. And no pun intended, but pun intended, because that's exactly what he is for this prison. He's an overseer. And everybody under his command is responsible, but he is also vicariously responsible, and we demand that he step down immediately.
Well, that's all the questions I have.
I guess what I just thought of is, what would you guys have to say? I understand that they're contracted through the state, but they're also a private company. Do you imagine there could be some legal issues that would come up that may prolong how long they would stay open if they were trying to shut down?
What we see is, for a year, we had gotten over 30, 40 complaints, and the complaints continue to increase. So basically, they have no rights. You know, they closed down the prison in Nashville many years ago. They used to call it the Walls, due to the same kind of poor conditions, deaths, fights. So they're known to close them down. So whatever that contract is, if they're violating that contract, which they are, then we as citizens demand that contract be null and void, and that they move with a sense of urgency to shut this prison down and send these inmates to better facilitated facilities that will respect their civil rights. So we could care less about a contract.
Right.
Because, you know, when you're not adhering to the rules and regulations, then you're in violation of the contract, whatever that contract is. So it's irrelevant. Right now, it's up to the citizens and the people and the communities across, and we will try to put this across the state, because inhumane conditions here will stimulate in other prisons. So it's imperative that we reach out to parents who have children, women with husbands, or some child who's strong enough, when they hear the next cry, that they come down and stand with us to demand the closing of this prison system, Trousdale.
In your guys' opinion, what would allow for these things to happen? Do you think it's guards not doing their job? Is it Mr. Strada not doing his job, or what do you think could be allowing this?
It is the exchange of money.
Yeah, it's all
You know,
about
look at CoreCivic and how many candidates that they put big money behind. I mean, huge money. I think 69,000 went to the governor himself. So it's the exchange of money. You give them a violation by the state, then you give them the contract back. They're just moving money. It's all about the dollar. It's not about these inmates. And we're here to stand, because they do not have a voice. We will be a voice for them. That's what we do best.
Have you guys spoken with the governor's office yet?
No, we have not. But when we were in our seriousness of trying to solve this issue, we did call the governor's office, and we did meet with Strada, and he was very nice, and he assured me and he assured us that these problems, if they did exist, which he said they didn't, he said, I can assure you they would be fixed. So, you know, when you lied to me, you lied to them. So with that, we will fight to see if we can have him removed and have this facility closed.
When you say we, do you mean when you were at the NAACP, where you are just you two as an individuals, as civil rights activists, talking to them?
What I'm doing is, as a civil rights activist, when you march with Coretta Scott King, I don't need nobody to tell me when to stand up. You know, when God tell me right here, that little thing go off, you know, I brought Juneteenth to this city. I was one of the people that organized the MLK Day in 1989. I just happened to go by the NAACP. When you march with Jesse and John Lewis, you just do what God tell you to do, and we will organize and bring, at least the next time, the number is 100 people here.
In what ways can people keep up with the dates of this, and how would you get the message across to the people that you're hosting this every month or whatnot?
What we will do is we're going to meet with, I know one clergy that we have spoke with, and try to see, can we do a call meeting out there, put it out in the news and in the media for the organizing for the next one here. And so, you know, it may be 6 weeks to 8 weeks down the road, but they will have plenty of enough notification of a call meeting to come again here and rally to seek two things: the closing of this prison, and to remove Frank Strada as the commissioner of prisons.
We have to listen to Dr. King when he says the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice. But sometimes it takes people pressure to bend that arc. And that's what we bring with us. We bring people pressure, and whatever it is, we'll have flyers out, we'll have a call to action, whether it's an ad on the radio, we will involve the general public, because this is what it's going to take. We're going to try this prison and Frank Strada in the court of public opinion.
I just want to say one thing.
Yeah.
I'm not going to talk on. I'm CJ Lynch. I've been incarcerated before. I have multiple felonies on my record. I spent like. Okay. I didn't even know if it was higher. So I spent like 4 years of my life in jail, and like what they're saying is basically when you're in there, like we get it, like you're an inmate, you're gonna lose your rights, but it's like the correction officers, they just have a mentality that don't even ask me for toilet paper. They do that. You'll ask for toilet paper and you'll wait like 3 or 4 hours for it at the bare minimum type of stuff. So if you have to beg for toilet paper, imagine trying to, beg for what they're asking for. So it's a mentality they have. They look at you like you're scum, you're not a human. And that has to change. Like, I could go off on an hour rant, but that's, now you're seeing like the mentality, like you're not a citizen, or you're gonna have people in the comments saying, well, they're inmates, they lost that right. Like, at the end of the day, this is America. We're not in the middle of, like, you know, a really impoverished country. So at least the jail facility could reflect that, because you go to other countries in Europe, like, you know, they have nicer facilities and they don't have a big rate of people returning and, you know, all the violent nature, because this stuff needs to change. Like, Mississippi's not the only place that has prisons that need, Mississippi's not the only place that needs change. Like, Tennessee needs it, Kentucky needs it, Atlanta, Georgia needs it. Like, every state facility has some sort of flaw that they have to correct, and it's just like, whether it's physical stuff, like, you know, the actual facility, or just the staff members, you know, because some of these people, they're supposed to protect and serve, but they have the same mentality as like a dirty cop on the street. Like, they look at you like you're scum, you know. Some people in jail, they sit in there for like 5-6 years just for an appeal, and they didn't do nothing, but maybe they didn't, you know, live long enough to win their appeal because they got killed in jail or something. Like, that happens more than people think. But that's all I had to say. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so any more questions?
Yeah, can you just say your name for us? Spell it first and last name and spell it out.
CJ, C&J, Lynch, L-Y-N-C-H.
And how long were you here for?
I wasn't in this facility, but I spent like time in like other places and stuff, other states.
Well, can I ask you too? I just spoke with the mom, and she said like her son gets commissary, and like a lot of people who get commissary may be bullied or may be attacked. Is that pretty common? That if some people don't have family or loved ones in there to work with them and stuff.
If I
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, Nashville Davis County know me as a ex-con. I did 20 years in our state and county prison, and I went through what I call unauthorized situation. Well, like commissary, as you mentioned, yes, we do get commissary, but a lot of them do get confiscated because we don't have the means of, other support of the guards. Because guards, you know, at the prison I came from, they would turn it back on. Some inmates, it's all about money. Some inmates have money, they need the guards, pay off the guards and turn it back. I don't seen people got shanked. I don't see men got raped. But it take a community and a corporation that is actually running suspicious, because see, when you go home, she go home, we inmates, we all alone with these certain type of guards. You got ward, you go tell your ward, you file grievance, they don't get seen. They tear you up like a piece of paper, because like he said, we just a number. And see, long they building these facilities, like my pastor say, it's a game. It's all about politics, it's about money. That's all about, you know. They can put you in the pen, that's $50,000 for somebody else. They don't care. You got family or relatives, all they care what's going in their pocket. I've been in prison where they've been inmates coming there, got busted for weed. But here you got this man in for murder. But you want to put this murder man, in with a non-felony person, they ain't doing but a simple crime. Now I know we did what we did out here, crime. We all got to be held accountable for our actions. But some people can't get abused, you know. The prison I come from, we got to grow our own food. We didn't grow with that stuff out there, we didn't eat. Now, phone lines. We just have phones in prison like everybody else have phones. 5 minutes, 2 minutes. Hey man, I ain't get to talk to my mama or family or anything. You know, they worry about me just as I worry about them. And I know I did my crime, but I should not be abused by what I did.
Thank you. Yeah. It goes back to civil rights.
Yes.
It goes back, and so
see,
what I think
ahead,
is happening is that this is just the tip of the iceberg. I think it's bigger than just Trousdale, and we thank God for Trousdale, because we're going to make this happen, because what happens here, I think, will fix prisons throughout Tennessee and probably in other states, because they've been getting away with mistreating inmates for many years. And so now it's time for people to speak up, and we will pull them together, because we were also getting complaints from other prisons. It's bad. It's bad. This is just the worst. And we would not be doing these inmates justice to just let them move money around. We will demand closure, and we will seek for strata to be removed.
Sorry, I just got one more question here from our reporter. Can can you guys speak about Vincent Vantel, the warden, and about how he's treated inmates?
Vantel is a new warden. The turnover rate of wardens in this prison is very high. And when you call the number for the warden, a lot of times the voice box is full and you can't even leave a message. And they never return your call. When you do leave a message, they never return your call. There's an ethics and compliance director for Core Civic. His name is Brian Deemer. Does he have a phone number online? No. Does he have an office? Yes. Can you just walk in there? No. Okay? They're hiding in their castles while they're suffering my brothers in these places. And it has to stop. We have an 8th Amendment of the Constitution here against cruel and unusual punishment. And this has to stop because money changing hands at the top does not fix the problem, and it's a drop in the bucket. It's nothing. This is why this is happening and getting worse, because they're not being held accountable. They think they can just pay a fine and then keep doing what they're doing. That's the problem.
Do you think he's just as complicit as Trousdale?